You know, Obama had 25 months from the time that he was sworn in as a senator until the time that he announced his run for president.
Really?
25 months. Yeah,
Damn.
25 months. Yep.
Wow, we. That's that is insane. Yeah, like an actual United States senator, not a state senator, right?
Yeah, United States senator.
Oh, okay, for sure. I didn't know about
He
much
had
of his
that
background.
one
Yeah.
thing where he cross-examined Condoleezza Rice.
Hmm.
That was like his big moment as a senator, and then he took that and he's like, "Hey, I'm ready to be president because everybody loves me."
Yeah,
I think I was talking. Was I talking about on this show where I think like good politics now has become about getting everyone to like you, whereas it should be about getting everyone to agree with you. Because if you are a
hmm
in this day and age with just how busy people's lives are, I expect my publicly elected officials, at least on a national stage, to be obsessed with these problems to the point that they know the ins and outs of especially the data. I want to hear some statistical quotes all the time from them about how these problems are defined, so that they come across as they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And uh,
It
God,
is important to like make your case for what you believe in rather than play it up for the camera or be to be likable. People will like you if they agree with what you're saying. So like you should start there instead of like fall into trends or like be like play it up. If you have the right ideas and principles and morals and policies and whatnot, people will fall behind you. Like the right people at least. Because it's so gross. Like I was watching a Report clip earlier today about like Biden supporters and just how a whole lot of them just like him for very just superficial reasons, not that not for any of his accomplishments or anything like that, or not like
just vibe. Union Joe, man. Union Joe from Scranton.
right, yeah, exactly, or just like the fact that like they think that he is like literally the only hope that we have against Trump, and therefore Trump bad, therefore we have to support Joe. Like it's sad.
Well, let's treat it. Let's acknowledge. Well, let's acknowledge that. There's
Hmm.
a Dieter decree that's coming up that goes limitations are creativity's best friend,
Hmm.
and that means that it's great. People think of successful artists, successful creative people as like really arrogant and pretentious and whatever, but the great ones are actually pretty humble, and their humility starts with acknowledging what they can't do. And in this situation, what you just described, you have to acknowledge that the personality does matter a lot, that
Yeah,
looks do matter, that appearances do matter, that
yeah,
we should be, if we are, Obama kind of bailed on it. He wore a tan suit and everyone gave him shit about it. He never did it again. He should have done it for a whole week, like just to make a point. As soon as he got backlash, it's just like, oh, wait, the Republicans hate this? Oh, okay. I'm going to come in. I'm going to come with a red suit. I mean, there's a lot of, dude,
yeah, for
talk about
real.
if there, I mean, there is no such thing as black privilege except for in male fashion because they can wear some amazing colors that white men just simply cannot.
I
Like bright
completely agree.
green, bright red and stuff like I'm just
Yeah,
so jealous.
like
I'm looking at these black dudes with these incredible colors and I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh man, I
he
wish I could wear that. I can't wear that."
he really did play like a lot of the Republicans like a fiddle. Like there would always just be some outrage of the week, and he would poke fun at it or dismiss it, downplay it. He definitely had charm and charisma and knew how to work up Republicans and get them all tangled up in their feelings and whatnot.
But
And
his style choice was always to be above it. And I think now, because of Trump, things have gotten so ugly that
hmm
the left, at least like the left that still has something to hope for,
hmm
that really needs big change yesterday in this country,
yeah,
I think the left wants someone to get down in the mud and punch these bullies in the face and don't stop for another 20 or 30 years because it's going to take an entire generation to recover from this. I mean, this is
yeah,
generational
hmm
damage. This is late stage capitalism. On her show
yeah,
Generational Change, she was talking about how it's vulture capitalism, labeling it vulture capitalism. I'm like, well, that's a good, that might be exactly that might be a little too specific. I don't know. I think just late stage capitalism is right, because I think somewhere along the way, if we had regulated capitalism properly, it could
Yeah.
have evolved into something that was really great. American capitalism, that is. It could have, if we
Yeah.
had, reoriented energy towards renewables and climbed that technological learning curve and prioritized solving that problem. If we had gotten away from foreign interventionism and we wouldn't have needed so many damn military bases all over the world. If we had figured
Stronger
out,
social safety nets, social
we
programs.
we talked about the pill. That's something that as men we struggle to appreciate, the importance of the availability of reproductive
Yeah.
rights and treatment, and
Yeah.
having something like
Took
the
it for
morning
granted.
after pill
Yeah.
is like, some places it's like $50, and a lot of people can't afford that, so they end up having a kid because they can't come up with $50 for a morning after pill.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Their entire life is ruined. I'm sorry, it's true.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want? I mean, if you look, I don't I quoted it in one of my episodes. I don't know if I've quoted it recently, but 70% of inmates were abused or neglected when they were kids.
You did.
I mean,
You did bring that up,
yeah.
and yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did touch on it. Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked about a lot of it. I mean, it's like these unwanted kids, man. It's
Yeah.
bad for everybody. It's the root of all these fucking problems. And after we get done talking about obesity, we got to talk about that too.
Yeah. Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, yeah. Like we touched on before. Like if you're neglected, if you don't grow up in a place of love, you're going to lash out, and you're like the only thing you're going to know is hatred or indifference. And if you're indifferent, you're not going to give a shit about punishment. You're not going to give a shit about the law. You're going to commit crimes. You're going to, uh, you're of course you're going to be disorderly. like for it's not hard to figure out, but it, it and a lot of that does stem back to poverty,
Yeah.
and
Desperation.
yeah, exactly, and that really messes people up because people don't have anything.
Yeah.
Have nothing to lose,
And they don't
so
have time. And they
care.
don't have time to do it right. They don't have time to do it right.
No,
They're too busy trying to make ends meet. So
Yeah,
instead
they'll-
of reasoning with your kid
No.
and telling him this is why he can't have that, he keeps saying I want it, I want it, I want it. Then you tell him no, no, no. He keeps saying I want it, I want it, I want it. Sooner or later, you just end up smacking him, and you're like, oh well, that shut him up. Now I can move back to trying to make ends meet. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Like it sucks. It is totally
Right.
systemic. It is totally systemic.
Big time. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's just like an endless cycle too. Like it is generational.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah, there's like in your DNA, you can like trace generational abuse. You can
Big
like
time.
find signs of it in your DNA or something like that.
It's like
Like
it's
you-
like the aspect
Like
of
Holocaust survivors, or like they've done like studies on like Holocaust survivors and stuff like that.
of course, yeah, and it's a psychological thing too. It's like
Oh,
If-
yeah,
if-
much more so.
if you resort to if you resort to hitting your kids rather than rationally, calmly explain exactly how and why what they're doing is wrong, or trying to correct their behavior, if you resort to violence, you're not going unless you have like an actual uh, grounded logic behind your punishment for your child. And it's not just senseless violence, like you're out of order, therefore I'm going to hit you. That child's not going to learn anything. That's all that child's going
Right.
to do is like learn to not respect you. It's going to learn to fear you, and think to himself, "Oh, well, if I can't get what I want, if I can't get other people to listen to me or obey me or do what I want or what have you, then I can also be violent towards them. I could take it out on them as well, and it's just a bad cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that they'll do, I had really strict parents growing up. My dad slapped me once. It was
Mhm.
like not a big deal, but that was the extent of it. There wasn't any physical abuse. I want to be clear about that.
Mhm.
There was a lot of yelling, and it was a very strict household. And one of the things that ended up happening was what you just said. I lost respect for them. I just said basically like, okay, you're never gonna get me what I want, so I'm just going to lie to you and do what I want anyway, and you'll not know the difference.
Right.
And I'm just going to make sure that, I'm not going to get everything I want, but I'm going to get a hell of a lot more than what I'm getting now, because you're not, you're giving me this, that, and the other thing, but you're not giving me anything I'm asking for. I mean, this is like kind of we were talking about a little bit earlier about narcissistic family systems, but it's when, when your parents think of their kids as extensions of themselves and about the way that they should act rather than them as free and individuals who are
Actual
gonna become their own
people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that creates a whole host of conflict within the child where
Yeah.
the child doesn't feel free to be themselves, and that is a lot of consternation
Exactly.
in conservatism comes from that.
Yeah.
A lot of conservative culture is about making my mama proud, that kind of crap. That kind of crap.
For
I remember
real.
my mother used to never shut up. She had a really bad problem with talking too much, except around one person, her mother. Only around her mother was she actually deferential. She would be polite. I shouldn't give her, act as if she was a social penalty the entire time. She wasn't. But she would just, after a few glasses of wine, she'd just run off at the mouth and act like she knows everything.
Right.
And it happens to the best of us, but it happened all the time with her. But yeah, it was funny to watch, like this kind of Southern code of conduct, like the respect and not just respect, but almost like, just surreal respect for your parents to the point of like,
Yeah.
they're almost like a king and prince
Yeah,
situation.
it's like a lot of that. Like it dates back several generations. It comes down to everything centers around your parents because
Yeah,
they brought you into this world. Therefore, they
they
deserve.
paid the bills.
Yeah, they deserve unconditional respect. Despite your personal feelings. Despite what their behavior towards you or the way they treat you. And you never stop to think like, oh, is this wrong? Is the way that they do things wrong? Like, no, you don't question it, and that's the case for a lot of people today, a lot of older people especially. When you, it's it, because you learned it like at a young enough age not to question your parents, and so like you don't dare step out of line. It's basically just traditionalism. Like even a
Yeah,
lot of people that have long since passed on are still dictating the way that a lot of things are run in society, like policy wise and whatnot. Like there are a lot of traditionalists, a lot of traditionalist conservatives and whatnot that don't want things to change. They want to regress. They want to take things back to how society ran before, just because just for the sake of tradition, like it doesn't get any deeper than that. Like it's essentially just peer pressure from dead people. Like these people are dead; they're not here. They're like there's no way you can please them by sticking to tradition that is no longer relevant in a constantly evolving, progressing society. It's ridiculous. Like I don't have any respect for it at all. It's like society moves along. You either adapt and move along with it, or get the fuck out of the way. It should be that simple, but a lot of people are just stubborn.
yeah. And I was the stubbornness is the manifestation, but the root source is narcissism. Really, I
Yes.
mean, it is.
Yeah.
It really is narcissism. It's such a strong word, and it's like Nazi,
It's
right? These
true.
narcissistic Nazis, but they keep coming back to it. It's like times really have changed.